Hi guys, my name is Carla Ganem and I'm an art teacher at Strongsville Middle School in Strongsville, Ohio. Today my tutorial is making this hand lettered card and we're going to be doing a watercolor design in the background, and I love this project because of two reasons. You can make whatever you want, whatever saying you want on the card, long or short. I just did one simple word for this. And you can use whatever colors you want in the background. So as long as the colors that you're putting next to each other will blend together nicely, like my rainbow does here, then you can use this effect for whatever type of colors you want to use for your design. So to start off, I'm using watercolor paper, so you can cut it to whatever size you want. Maybe you're gonna do a locker design for your locker or your friend, or maybe you wanna make a birthday card for somebody. So cut it to whatever size you want. Watercolor paper is ideal because it's a little bit thicker. It has a nice texture that will allow the watercolors to move how you want them to. But in a pinch, you can just use white drawing paper or white cardstock or even printer paper. You're gonna want to use some Scotch masking tape. Any masking tape will do. I use that to tape the edges down. I can tape it down to my work surface or something like a clipboard so that you can move it, but that's just gonna prevent the edges from curling in. You don't want that to happen when you're waiting for your water to dry because that might affect the design that you did on there. So you wanna make sure you tape that down. Any old masking tape will be fine for that. Moving on to the lettering, I'm gonna start with a pencil. I always make mistakes, so pencil and eraser are essential. And I always have 3 Sharpies on hand. So I start with the smallest one, the ultra fine Sharpie, and then I kind of thicken the lines up with the chisel tip so you can see how the lines get thicker. And then I usually use this neutral one, just the regular fine Sharpie, to touch up any mistakes in between. For the painting, I love these paints. Any set of watercolor paints will do. This is a Jack Richardson set of 24, so it has 2 different palettes, so it'll offer you more colors. So if you have specific colors that you want in your design, use those colors that you have at home. And the last 2 things you need are just a little bit of water and a paintbrush. All right, follow along. I hope you have fun. I'm going to start by preparing my surface and taping down each edge of the paper. I'm just using green masking tape. You can use whatever color you want, or just the regular old tan masking tape. I'm making sure that there's a consistent white line on each side so that it's even, and taping this down will help prevent curling as you put water on it, and that way your design will stay exactly where you want it up until it's completely dry. I have a variety of Sharpies on hand. I have the ultrafine, the regular, and the chisel tip Sharpie. When you're sketching, make sure you're sketching very lightly. That way if you need to erase anything, it's not an issue. I'm using the regular fine point Sharpie to go over these original lines. And then the main tip to hand lettering is to make sure every downstroke that you create is done with a chisel tip Sharpie. So once I'm finished erasing, I will grab the chisel tip Sharpie and make sure that each downstroke has a nice thick line. The edges are a little bit messy, so I'll go back in with the regular Sharpie and just kind of fine tune that and make sure it gradually goes from a nice thick line on the downstroke to a nice thin line on the upstroke. I'm adding water right behind this, and since this is not a water-based marker, there's no chance of the Sharpie running. So make sure you're using the proper marker to make your lettering. And I'm just kind of making this burst coming out from the middle. And everywhere that I put water is where the color is going to go. I want mine to have a nice rainbow effect, so I'm just starting with different red watercolor paints. And you notice how I'm just kind of dabbing it right into that water, and it's following that trail of water. Anywhere that you put water, the paint is going to follow. So make sure you're using colors that will blend well together. So obviously I'm just going in rainbow order. So red is naturally going to blend with the yellow, with the orange, and then the yellow, green, blue, and violet. So I'm not doing much painting. I'm more doing just a little bit of application of the watercolors right onto that wet paper where I created that burst. The lines that you make with that clear water are very important because the paint is going to travel to all of those lines. Since this is pretty heavy on the water, it will take a little bit to dry. Here's the final product.
and when it's dry.
Thank you guys for joining along today. I hope you enjoyed yourself, and now you get to watch your paint dry, where all the colors kind of blend together a little bit more to make new colors, and that's always a really fun part of the watercolor process. Enjoy the photos I'm going to post after this with some other ideas, but like I said earlier, the options are endless. You can use this technique and this design for so many different things, so keep the creativity flowing.